Hey everyone, so here's something wild. That cinnamon sitting in your spice rack right now? It's not just making your coffee taste better. Scientists have been absolutely geeking out over this stuff. And honestly, after digging into the research, I get why. We're talking about one of humanity's oldest spices used for literally thousands of years. And modern medicine is finally catching up to what ancient cultures already knew. Today, I'm breaking down 4 legitimately mind-blowing reasons why cinnamon deserves a spot in your daily routine. And I'm backing every single claim with real science. Let's dive in. Reason number 1, blood sugar control that actually works. All right, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Type 2 diabetes and prediabetes are absolutely exploding worldwide. In the US alone, nearly 90 million people have prediabetes, and most don't even know it. So when I tell you that something as simple as cinnamon can help manage blood sugar, I know it sounds too good to be true. But here's where it gets interesting. A 2024 study published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition tracked 18 people with obesity and prediabetes for 10 weeks, using continuous glucose monitoring. When they took 4 grams of cinnamon daily, their 24-hour glucose levels dropped significantly compared to placebo, and their glucose peaks were lower too. We're not talking about some sketchy supplement study here. These researchers monitored over 66,000 glucose observations across 694 days of follow-up data. But it gets better. A comprehensive 2024 meta-analysis that pooled data from 24 randomized, controlled trials found that cinnamon significantly reduced fasting blood sugar, improved insulin resistance markers, and lowered hemoglobin A1C, which is your long-term blood sugar indicator. This wasn't a small study either. We're talking about combining results from multiple, rigorous trials to see the bigger picture. Now, how does this actually work? Cinnamon contains a compound called cinnamaldehyde, which essentially mimics insulin in your body. In vitro studies show that cinnamon acts as an insulin mimetic, potentiates insulin activity, and stimulates cellular glucose metabolism. It's like giving your body's natural insulin system a helpful nudge. The effective dose, according to most studies, just half to 2 teaspoons per day. That's it. Dr. Julio Romeo from the Joslin Diabetes Center, one of the world's leading diabetes research institutions, conducted a 12-week study on 51 people with prediabetes and found that cinnamon supplements lowered abnormal fasting glucose levels and improved the body's response to eating carbohydrates, which are hallmarks of prediabetes. His conclusion? This provides a rationale for studying whether cinnamon can actually prevent people from developing full-blown type 2 diabetes. Think about that for a second. A common spice might help prevent one of the world's biggest health epidemics. Reason number 2, heart health protection you can actually measure. Let's shift gears and talk about your heart, because this is where cinnamon really starts to flex. Heart disease is still the #1 killer globally, and anything that can move the needle on cardiovascular risk is worth paying attention to. A massive 2024 systematic review analyzed 49 studies and found that cinnamon supplementation significantly reduced waist circumference, both diastolic and systolic blood pressure, fasting glucose, fasting insulin, HbA1c, insulin resistance, and C-reactive protein, which is a key marker of inflammation. When I say significant, I mean statistically significant across the board. This wasn't cherry-picked data. This was 49 separate studies conducted in countries from Pakistan to Germany to Iran to the US, involving people aged 18 to 73. The cholesterol effects are particularly interesting. Recent meta-analyses found that while cinnamon didn't significantly affect LDL, cholesterol, or total cholesterol in some studies, it significantly reduced triglycerides, especially at doses below 500 milligrams per day. Triglycerides are often the forgotten villain in heart disease, and anything that can lower them naturally is pretty valuable. One review found that supplementing with at least 1.5 grams of cinnamon per day reduced levels of triglycerides, total cholesterol, LDL cholesterol, and blood sugar in people with metabolic disease. Another review of 13 studies confirmed that cinnamon could reduce both triglycerides and total cholesterol, which are major risk factors for heart disease. But here's the kicker about blood pressure. Studies show that consuming cinnamon consistently for at least 8 weeks can actually reduce blood pressure. We're not talking about a miracle cure here, but when you combine modest blood pressure reduction with improved cholesterol profiles and reduced inflammation. You're looking at a comprehensive cardiovascular benefit package, and all from a spice you probably already have at home. Reason number 3, brain protection and cognitive enhancement. Now this is where things get really fascinating. Your brain is basically the most complex thing in the known universe, and protecting it from age-related decline is a massive deal. Enter cinnamon. A 2024 systematic review published in a nutrition journal examined both preclinical and clinical studies on cinnamon and cognitive function. In vivo studies showed that using cinnamon or its components like cinnamaldehyde and cinnamic acid could positively alter cognitive function. In vitro studies showed that adding cinnamon to cell cultures could reduce tau aggregation and amyloid beta while increasing cell viability. If you're not familiar with those terms, tau aggregation and amyloid beta are the hallmark proteins involved in Alzheimer's disease. A 2024 systematic review of 40 studies overwhelmingly found that cinnamon significantly improves cognitive function in terms of memory and learning. A 2022 study concluded that cinnamon extract might help with Alzheimer's disease by influencing specific brain pathways. This isn't just one research team making wild claims. This is a consistent pattern across dozens of independent studies. What's really cool is that most studies concluded that cinnamon might be useful for preventing and reducing cognitive function impairment, and could be used as an adjuvant in the treatment of related diseases. Translation? It's not a cure, but it could be a helpful addition to existing treatments and preventive strategies. And considering how devastating conditions like Alzheimer's and dementia are, any natural tool we can add to our arsenal is worth considering. Reason 4. Inflammation fighter with serious antioxidant power. Last but definitely not least, let's talk about inflammation and oxidative stress. These are two of the fundamental processes behind basically every chronic disease you can think of: cancer, heart disease, diabetes, arthritis, you name it. So anything that can fight both inflammation and oxidative stress is hitting two birds with one stone. A systematic review and meta-analysis specifically examined cinnamon's impact on biomarkers of inflammation and oxidative stress, and concluded that cinnamon supplementation may be an adjuvant for reducing inflammation and oxidative stress levels in humans. The researchers followed rigorous PRISMA guidelines and searched through multiple major databases, including PubMed, Scopus, and Cochrane Library. Cinnamon's key bioactive constituents, including cinnamaldehyde, cinnamic acid, and cinnamate, exhibit antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, and anti-diabetic properties that may benefit cardiovascular health. These aren't vague claims. These are specific compounds with measurable biological activities. Cinnamon contains large amounts of highly potent polyphenol antioxidants. Studies show that this spice and its antioxidants have potent anti-inflammatory properties. When your body is constantly fighting low-grade chronic inflammation, which basically describes the modern lifestyle, for many people, having dietary tools to combat that inflammation is incredibly valuable. The available in vitro and animal in vivo evidence suggests that cinnamon has anti-inflammatory, antimicrobial, antioxidant, anti-tumor, cardiovascular, cholesterol-lowering, and immunomodulatory effects. That's a pretty comprehensive list of benefits from a single spice. So there you have it. 4 scientifically solid reasons why cinnamon deserves more respect than just being the stuff you sprinkle on lattes. We're talking about blood sugar control, backed by continuous glucose monitoring studies, cardiovascular benefits confirmed across 49 clinical trials, brain protection, supported by systematic reviews of 40 studies, and anti-inflammatory effects validated by rigorous meta-analyses. Now, before you go dumping cinnamon on everything, a few important notes. First, we're primarily talking about Ceylon cinnamon here, not the cheaper cassia variety, because cassia contains higher levels of a compound called coumarin that can be problematic in large doses. Second, the effective doses in most studies range from about 1 to 6 grams per day, which is roughly a quarter teaspoon to 2 teaspoons. And third, while the research is genuinely exciting, cinnamon isn't a replacement for medication or medical advice. If you take any type of medicine, talk with your healthcare provider before using cinnamon supplements, as some herbs and medicines can interact in harmful ways. The beautiful thing about cinnamon is how accessible it is. You don't need expensive supplements or complicated protocols. Sprinkle it in your coffee, add it to oatmeal, blend it into smoothies, or yes, Take it in capsule form if that's easier. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.